So today, we're going to tear down something really powerful, the Executive Communication Protocol. Now, this isn't just some fancy way to talk. It's a precision-engineered system for getting your ideas not just heard, but actually respected and, most importantly, acted on at the very highest levels of a company.
And it all really boils down to this one question, right? How do you actually earn a CEO's attention? I mean, think about it. Their day is a fire hose of information, meetings, and demands. Their time is their single most precious resource, and they are masters at filtering out anything that doesn't matter. This protocol, this is how you become the signal that cuts through all that noise.
And you can literally see the difference in language here. Over on the left, you've got the noise. These are the words that make an executive's eyes just glaze over. Synergy, game-changing. They're empty. But on the right, that's the signal. Words like decision risk, economic impact. This is the language of the protocol. It's sharp, it's specific, and it speaks directly to the only things they truly care about: risk, money, and a clear line of logic.
So, how do we get there? Here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 5 key parts. First, we'll set the scene with the high-stakes conversation. Then we'll get inside their heads by decoding the executive mindset. After that, we'll look at the actual structure for retention. This is huge. Then we'll cover the single most important part, the revenue connection, and wrap it all up with why you can't afford to have no generic conclusions.
Okay, first up, the high-stakes conversation. The number one rule of this whole thing is that it is not for everyone. You absolutely have to understand who you're talking to and the high-pressure world they live in before you even think about what you're going to say.
And this protocol is tailor-made for a very, very specific crowd. We're talking senior leaders, CROs, CEOs, RevOps leaders inside B2B companies that live and die by their data. These are the people whose entire job is tied to numbers, revenue, and growth. They just don't have the time or the patience for a story that doesn't have a clear business outcome at the end.
All right, so we know who we're talking to. Now let's get into part 2, decoding the executive mindset. This is all about how you show up. To get on their wavelength, to even be heard, you have to nail the tone and the style.
And the tone is this really interesting mix. Executive means you talk like a peer, an equal, not like you're asking for permission. Analytical is a given. Everything you say has to be built on a foundation of logic and data. Confident is key. If you don't believe it, they sure won't. And then there's my favorite, slightly provocative. You're not afraid to poke the bear a little bit, to challenge a core assumption, to really make them think.
And just as important as what you do is what you don't do. These are the anti-rules. Absolutely no emojis, no hype words. It just feels amateur and it kills your credibility. And no motivational speeches. This isn't a locker room pep talk. It's a serious, strategic discussion. The whole point is discipline. You use clear, spoken language, not some dense academic paper. Clarity wins over complexity every single time.
Okay, you've got the tone down. Now for the real engine of this protocol, structure for retention. This is the secret sauce. This is how you build an argument that actually sticks in an executive's brain long after they've walked out of the room.
And the flow is incredibly logical. You start by presenting a framework, a new way to look at the problem. Then you build a causal chain, a simple if-then argument, like if our data is a mess, then our sales forecasts are unreliable. Step 3 is where the magic happens. You highlight the decision risk, the cost of doing nothing, and you bring it home by quantifying the economic impact. This forecasting problem is costing us $500,000 in missed opportunities. See how that flows?
Let's just double-click on decision risk for a second because this concept is so powerful. It's not about the risk of your idea, it's about flipping the script and showing them the massive risk of staying right where they are. You're framing the status quo, their comfortable default, as the single most dangerous choice on the table. It creates this urgency by making those hidden costs feel real and immediate. And that brings us to the absolute, undisputed heart of this entire protocol. This is the one rule to rule them all, the revenue connection.
There it is. That's the golden rule. Every single point you make, every bit of data you share, every insight you offer has to draw a straight line back to a revenue decision. If you can't connect your idea directly to how the company makes or loses money, it does not belong in the conversation. Period. End of story. And that connection can't be fuzzy. It has to be concrete. This protocol demands you go beyond vague ideas like, we'll be more efficient. No, you have to translate that into a number. What is the actual economic impact? Is it $1.2 million in new pipeline? Is it a cost saving of $300,000? Putting a number on it makes the stakes real. It makes the abstract concrete. Okay, let's bring it all home with our final section. No generic conclusions. This is all about the delivery, the final polish, because how you package your argument is every bit as important as the logic you put inside it. And the delivery itself has a few simple rules. Short paragraphs. Why? Because they're easy to scan and digest. Strong transitions, so the logic flows seamlessly from one point to the next. And you want to use rhetorical questions to pull your audience in and get them thinking with you. The goal is always, always clear, direct, and powerful language.
So when you step back and look at the whole thing, you realize this is really a protocol of restraint. It's about the discipline to strip away everything that isn't essential. You cut out the hype, the buzzwords, the fluff, until all that's left is the strongest, most compelling core of your argument. It's not about saying more, it's about making every single word you say matter more.
Which kind of leaves us with one final big idea to chew on. We've talked about this as a protocol for writing a pitch or a script, but what if it's actually bigger than that? What if this is really a protocol for thinking? What if adopting this kind of discipline, connecting every idea back to risk and revenue, doesn't just make you a better presenter, but a sharper strategist and a way more effective leader? Now that's something worth thinking about.